care of admitting people when we start, after we start?
Yeah, sure.
Great, thanks a lot.
I hope I can. I haven't seen the button yet, but
okay. I thought last time you
everyone
could,
can,
right? Yeah.
Okay, let's see if that works.
Okay, I think I'm sharing my screen. I think we can start now. Thanks everybody for joining the second update meeting, Lean Dev Update meeting. We have a lot of new stuff. Let's see what's okay. Basically, the main topics we're going to discuss today are the 5th milestone release, the ISAM hackathon, the mentoring rings, the Mathlete reports, the stance library, and highlights from Mac. I mean, the Lake 4.0 has been released. It has a lot of cool new features. Wojtek and Ed have a really mind-blowing demo with the user widgets, and Sebastian is going to talk about the typed macros. That's also super helpful, and I think it improves a lot usability of the macro system. The 5th milestone release, right? I mean, we just released it. We are happy there are contributions from 34 people in this milestone release, and many new cool features like the missing documentation linter that Mario implemented. We have now auto-completion for structure fields, right? Dotted identifiers, the new dotted identifiers now auto-completion works for them. We have the labs link attributes that will help the Mathlete port. This is equivalent to a labs eliminator in Lean 3. We added the attribute deprecated to mark deprecated functions and types. This is very useful because from now on, I mean, people are using Lean for metaprogramming, and as soon as we change the API, we want to mark things as deprecated to reduce the amount of breakage, right? The impact on people's extensions. We improved the calculational proofs in term and static modes. This is based on a lot of feedback from Heather and Mario. Gabriel implemented computed fields for inductive data types. If you haven't seen them, they are really, really useful. I mean, we use them to implement expert, name, and universe levels in the Lean 4 implementation. We have a new notation support for array-like access, right? It's much more flexible now. As I mentioned, we have the Lake 4.0, the typed macros that Sebastian is going to talk later, and improves the elaborator for dot notation. And when you have aliases, the interaction sometimes was producing counterintuitive behavior and improve a lot in this milestone release. The second chapter of the functional programming Lean is available now to everybody. Please take a look. I love this second chapter. David's working on the third one. I think we're getting a lot of great feedback for the book. Please keep sending feedback. We want the book to be great for new users. And I think we'll help everybody. Everybody that's interested in extending Lean, using Lean. I think this is a great book. Or people that want to use Lean as a programming language, it's also a great resource. We had the ISAN seminar, and after that, after the seminar, we had this hackathon. Was really exciting there. I was physically there. Many people joined remotely. We had many cool demos like the Lean chat was demo there. Now it's available to everybody. You can download from the VS Code, Visual Studio Code marketplace. We had the demo of Aesop, this new tactic for Lean 4 that's you can view it as a white box automation, right? You can customize it. It has many bells and whistles for you to play. Gabriel made a demo of Code 4, but there are many other demos. I mean, all the videos are available online, thanks to Rob. Another nice outcome from these meetings that's exposed many bugs. And most of them have been fixed by now, because here we had a lot of people using Lean the Lean API to extend Lean itself, right? You are behaving like meta-programmers, and this exposes many bugs, and it helps us a lot to improve the system. Yeah, also, one of the goals of the hackathon is to jumpstart the Mathlib Tactic Port initiative, right? So, I mean, many people contributed Tactics to Mathlib 4. And as I said, all videos are available online. The link is on our Zulip channel, right? So, I mean, you don't have to copy and paste these links. They are all available on our Zulip channel, right? The mentoring rings, right? So, I mean, today, one of the main obstacles we have for getting PRs is that there are very few core maintainers, right? You probably have seen on Zulip many times we saying we don't have human power to review PRs, right? And especially if the PR is a big new feature, we have to say, no, we don't, right? Maintaining the current code base is already super complex, right? And one of the ideas to change that is to increase the number of core maintainers, right? The idea is that the current maintainers start helping people, teaching people how the code base works, the details, and eventually they become maintainers themselves. And by having more maintainers, you can take more PRs and make the system better, right? We have 5 volunteers right now, right? Gabriel, Mac, Martin, Sebastian, and myself, we are all volunteering to help people, to teach people how the code base is organized. And we want it to be a flexible, right? Each new maintainer may focus. You don't need to understand everything. You can say, oh, I care about the front ends. I care about the macro system. I care about the parser. I care about the code generator. You can select different parts of the system you want to focus on. And one mentor will try to keep explaining to you. We know there are very few we don't have a lot of documentation, and one way to contribute on day one, a new maintainer, is as they meet with the mentors, they start learning things, they start from day one adding better doc strings, adding more documentation to the code base, and making sure that the next person will have an easier time, right? It will be easier for them to learn how to contribute to the system. As a new maintainer, the most important thing is to learn to diagnose and fix problems, right? That's what's the most time-consuming activity. When someone raises a problem, figuring out why something doesn't work and try to come up with a fix, it's very time-consuming, and having more people doing that would be great for the community. One final goal for this mentoring ring is to have new maintainers that can co-sign PRs. They can review PRs, new pull requests to the main code base and say, this is okay, the quality is good, we have enough documentation there, right? And that's a plus, right? We want the mentors also with this mentality of, I want to make the system better, right, for users. I want to improve the home messages. I want to improve the trace messages. You probably have seen a PR from Gabriel where he's really improving the trace message, how they are displayed to users, and going there and improving the actual messages using this new framework that Gabriel developed is a big plus, right? Benefits everybody. Having the Rust mindset, right? The Rust contributor mindset that they invest a lot of time improving error messages. We need that, right? And this is a lot of work, and having more people contributing will make a big difference. We have a form for anybody that's interested. Sarah creates a sign-up form. The link is on Zulip. Go there. If you are interested, fill the form. You can say which areas, parts of Lean you are interested in contributing to and maintaining, and view it as you are helping the whole community by signing up the form and trying to help improving doc strings, improving error messages. Every little thing helps, right? Mario is pushing a big effort of adding doc strings to everything, right? During the hackathon, we added many doc strings, but we need way more help, right? I mean, he wrote a linter for pointing out whenever you don't have there's a missing doc string. Eventually, we wanted to have this linter turned on in the whole Lin4 code base. Right now, it's turned on, I think, for selected files, but we need help documenting stuff, right? And many people during the hackathon contributed doc strings, right? People there who were writing CDAF sent PRs of doc strings, Patrick, and so on. Mathlib ports. The main obstacle, as we mentioned in the past, the main obstacle is porting all the tactics to Lin4, right? During the hackathon, we added many missing tactics, but there are many more in the queue, and important ones are there. We have added during the hackathon any missing features. Mario and I went to overhaul the pending tactics and try to identify every missing feature in core that was required. I think almost everything was added. All the missing features that we identified, we added there, but help is needed for porting the tactics, right? I'm happy to meet weekly to explain the Lin4 API to anybody interested in porting Mathlib tactics to Lin4. Standards library, this is a recurrent question we get. We get this question all the time. People saying, "Oh, where's the standards library? I want to do a sense submit this function to the standards library." Right now, we don't have a standards library, right? So we have Lin4 that contains parts of what would be a standards library, right? Parts that are relevant for implementing Lean itself, right? We basically we froze the standards library until we have ported Mathlib. But now we feel like there's so many requests that we have to do something about it, right? We want the standards library to be like the Rust standards library with proofs, right? The focus of the standards library is computer science, right? We want to attract, we believe by having a rich standards library, we will be able to attract more contributors, more people excited about Lean as a programming language. In our dreams, right, the ideal scenario would be Mathlib depend on the standards library, right? Mathlib sometimes has tactics that use data structures that will be provided by the standards library. Many projects that are just computer science projects would depend only on the standards library, but projects in crypto, right, they would depend on both libraries, right? You'd require a lot of number theory that will be provided by Mathlib. You'd require data structures that will be provided by standards library, and use both. And I think this is a great scenario. Of course, we are here to get feedback from you, but Mario already volunteers to be the standards library lead maintainer, and that would be great. We hope to start soon, and feedback would be great. Code generator. We are also front loading the code generator refactor, right? Remember, the code generator is really old. That was one of the first things we implemented for implementing Lin4, right? And because of bootstrapping issues, it is still written in C and C++. The main problem now that's when we wrote this code, basically we had only two people rely on the code generator. Basically, it was Sebastian and me. But now many people rely on this code generator, and there are critical things, right? Bugs that people keep finding. We have many pending bugs right now. We have code blow up issues, right? Lean executable is big because of this code blow up. And there are many people with exciting new projects, right? Because of that, it's like the standards library. We wanted to postpone, but we can't postpone anymore. And basically now we are working on the code generator. We hope to have it done in the next 3 months. Henrik, Sedaf will be helping with the new code generator. And I hope you benefit. We will open new possible application scenarios. Like, for example, a recurrent question we get is, oh, can you generate WASM, right? I mean, we hope with this new code generator, this will be a feasible path. Now, Mac, are you there? I haven't seen.
Hello.
Okay, great. Okay, do you want to take over and talk about Lake 4.0?
Okay, sure. So at the end of the summer, after a pretty long set of work, I have released Lake 4.0. The big thing here is really twofold. One is cloud build support, i.e., you can now use Lake to upload built artifacts of your libraries to a GitHub release, and Lake will then smartly download these pre-built artifacts from a GitHub release, which means that if you have a big library that takes a bit of time to build from the source, you can upload your build either via yourself or via this GitHub CI to a release and have any users of your library be able to freely download that pre-built set of artifacts so that they don't have to rebuild it from the source themselves. This can make it much less time consuming to update packages with lots of dependencies, because it will hopefully, as most libraries adopt this feature, make it so that you don't have to build most dependencies from the source. There will already be a pre-built binary that will just be downloaded from the internet and unpacked. The other more complex change, but still very relevant, is the build API for Lake has been overhauled to enable a lot more custom builds that are also more interweavable. And this allows for more powerful custom targets, stuff like that, which is hopefully going to be useful for some of the various build tasks that we want to accomplish, such as documentation generation. DocGen will hopefully be able to provide a little thing called a facet for packages to build documentation for their modules and stuff like that, and also to allow some of the code generation improvements in the core to produce additional artifacts for modules and stuff like that. There are a couple of other fixes and assorted features in there, one of which is the --old from the old Lean 3 days. Similar idea has been ported to Lean 4, where you type --old and it will only rebuild modules that themselves have been modified, not rebuilt ones in between. This will make it easier if you just change one module and then you want to see a defect materialize in one down the stream, and you don't really care about the ones in between, and you don't want to wait the time for them to build. So that's, I think, the core summary of what happened there. And hopefully people will find the new version useful.
Thanks a lot, Smack. I mean, I can tell you that I download so many packages for making demos, and Lake has been working. Was a great experience. Well, now another big news. I don't know, Wojtek and Ed, I want to take over. Do you want to share your screen?
Sure.
Yeah, I will stop sharing.
I was going to just. So I think Patrick maybe had a question about Lake.
Oh,
right, and
yeah,
oh,
I had 2 questions.
Wow, there are millions of questions. Okay. Yeah, I was sharing my screen. I missed it. Oh no, this is a transcript. Sorry, I mean.
I have 2 questions for Mark, and the first question is about the cloud build. Are they meant to replace the all-in archive that we have for Matlib? Because for Matlib, we build all-in files for every commit that is pushed to GitHub. So there are many all-in archives. I mean, you wouldn't fit on GitHub releases. We use Ether servers to hold all these big stuff. So do you intend to use only the GitHub releases? Or do you also plan to have this more flexible approach where you can have easier local commits?
Mac?
Sorry, that was kind of hard to hear. So the idea is to hopefully have MathLib upload its OLeans to GitHub via releases too. I think it, probably much like Lean does with nightlies, not anything formal in like version numbering. There's probably infrequent or frequent nightlies would probably be the way that MATLAB would go about releases there. I guess one thing that is a bit of a back and forth still is the question of Oleans are not cross-platform, and really ideally should be built per OS, per architecture. So that is a question of how that should be handled for MATLAB, because ideally MATLAB would build it across a Ubuntu machine, a Windows machine, and a Mac OS machine, and upload the Oleans across those three. But that is a lot of building, and I'm not, and there may be research stretches there, so there'll have to be a bit of a conversation going on about that.
So in Lindsay, there is no problem using Olean 5 on any OS. They are
Well,
independent. So this change in Lincoln?
Yes. Right, Leo?
Okay.
But indeed, we have a lot more Olean 5 than we could fit on GitHub, and we have continuous integration machines that are not run by GitHub to do all this building. And we have many servers hosted in the Hoskinson Center or at the Johann Comens University in Freiburg. So GitHub, the power is not enough for current state of MATLAB.
I don't think GitHub has any major restrictions on Olean size.
But it took forever. It was way too slow when we relied on GitHub. But I mean, we can discuss more the details. I mean, we should discuss with Gabriel and, for instance, Mother about this or Word. And the other question is, I was a bit worried to see that it's not completely clear how widgets will be built using Lake. Because I saw a conversation a couple of days ago where you seemed to say that what Wojtek wanted to do was a bit exotic from the point of view of Lake. Is this solved, or can we conveniently do everything we need with widgets in Lake?
I was not able to catch the gist of what you said there. Did anyone else?
Yes.
So the sound is dead and so on. Okay, let's forget about that, and maybe I'll ask later. My sound is dead.
Okay.
Yeah, but playing Flake now, Patrick, as soon as possible, making these experiments and providing feedback would be great. I mean, to make sure that it addresses all the issues you're concerned about.
Yes, especially because I am intending to do a maintenance release in about 2-ish, 3-ish weeks. I have some stuff that's busying me right now in these 2 weeks, but I hope to have a maintenance release soon after that. But after that, my ability to contribute heavily will diminish for about until next spring. I'll be here and there and answering questions and stuff like that, but won't be able to do heavy coding work probably for that time frame. So getting any final feature requests out the door is very helpful, because I will not be here soon. I will not be heavily available very soon.
Wojtek, Ed, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, so Ed and I are very excited to announce that the user widgets are more working than they used to be. We just released kind of the first version. And probably the best resource for that, if you would like to play around, is to look at the user widgets tutorial. It's part of the Lean 4 manual. And I think Leo linked it in the Zulip thread for the meeting. And Ed, I think, will show some demos of various widgets that he and I have been working on.
Hello. Let's try and share a screen. Okay. Fingers crossed. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
It's working.
Okay, great. Yeah. So what Wojtek and I have done is we've made it so you can. So this Lean info view on the right hand side is like a full-fledged sandbox web browser, And so what we've done is we've given Lean users the ability to inject JavaScript into this info view. So you can see here, for example, we have, you know, this is this string is a JavaScript function here. So, you know, it's creating it's just creating some paragraph with the string in it. And then if we click down here, we can see the results. And then using the cool Lean syntax system, we can also have like HTML style tags directly in Lean source code. So the idea is eventually, you know, we could have like full user interfaces being built in something that looks a lot like a kind of HTML templating languages, which is integrated within Lean. So the idea is you might, yeah, we're like hoping that you can create user interfaces without ever leaving like the Lean environment as well. So here you can see, if you click on them, you get different results. And the other thing we've worked on is letting you like bundle existing JavaScript libraries. So for example, here is a plotting library that plots a function. And so here you can see here are the XY values which are sent to this plotting widget, and then it generates the plot, and it can also animate it and do all kinds of fancy things because it's like it's quite mature like JavaScript library. What else have we got? We have, so here we have a Rubik's Cube. So if I click here, a Rubik's Cube will appear, and we're using 3JS to render this in 3D. So you can spin it around, you can animate it. And it's also, I can also pin widgets and then edit the sequence, and it will update in real time as you.
Wow.
So so you can so the idea is you'll have like you know, you might have a proof state, and then you have your custom visualization for your proof state, and then you'll be able to work on it, and then in real time see the proof state update using your visualization is the idea. And then, okay, I think the final demo is Wojtek has made this amazing commutative diagram system. So the other thing is that because it's all in the same place as the info view, we're able to share code with the tactic state. So you know that when you hover over a thing in a tactic state, you get these pop-ups, these kind of recursive pop-ups. And so this commutative diagram, which is, I guess, showing that f is equal to b in a roundabout way, f is equal to g, sorry. This is also, all of these are also pop-upable. And it's using the exact same code as these tactic states are using, which means you can also recursively view them and see doc strings and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. So this is all in course, so you can play with these examples. I think we'll try and, so we have like a little repository where we have our demos and prototype widgets, and we'll try and get them. I think these commutative diagrams are going to end up in Mathlib, right, Wojtek?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. So yeah, this all should just work out of the box if you use Lean4 in VS Code.
So, sorry, I had a question. Does the widget allow you to edit the other way around, meaning you can change something in the commutative diagram and the source code gets changed, or not yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't have any APIs yet for like
Okay.
exactly changing the syntax, let's say, but you can these widgets can communicate with the Lean server using the Lean RPC protocol.
Okay.
Yes.
And that can change the source code, is it?
Yes. So it can edit files, and because Lean can, you know, you can use the IO monad to change the file, but we're hoping to add some APIs so that, like, you know, you can click on this and then maybe it changes the source in some way as well, in a way that's kind of syntax aware or something. So
where can I find documentation for changing the source? Is there some place where it's there, or wait for it here?
I think that's still.
Yeah.
Okay.
That part is not documented yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
The RPC protocol. Maybe maybe I can button that up. Yes, but the widgets, all of the stuff to make your own widgets and like compile your own JavaScript, because also Lake connects to Lake. So this is built from JavaScript, from some JavaScript source code, and it's all bundled into a single file. And because we're using Lake, you can get it. I don't think this is quite working yet, but the plan is when you hit Control R, as you would to reload the, the lean file and its dependencies, it should also rebuild the JavaScript if it needs to as well. So we're trying to keep it all integrated.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So as a filthy Emacs user, is there some sort of integration story?
Yeah, there's a long-standing issue on GitHub that I made like a year ago or something, and the issue is implement InfoView in Emacs. So the best path I see towards having this work would be there's an extension to Emacs called like XWebKit or something, and that allows you to draw a WebKit panel in like as one of the panes. But that's just engineering work that needs to be done.
Cool. Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah, this is really cool. Yeah.
Sebastian, typed macros now.
Okay. Shall I try resharing the slides? Okay, does that work? Okay, I see one thumbs up. That should be enough. Yeah, so the type macros, this is not quite as much a user-facing features as the others. So it has been a quite fundamental change in the macro system. And well, the gist of it is that it ensures that the output of your macro is actually well structured, like is consistent with the underlying grammar by encoding these constraints in the type system, as we of course do in Lean. And so now if you do something strange in your macro, like put a term somewhere where a term is not expected, you actually got a type error from Lean instead of some inscrutable error message down the line when you actually use the macro. And I mean, that of course is the primary benefit of a type macro, but there are secondary benefits like your syntax, your helper functions that may take or produce syntax can now actually have, of course, a more self-documenting signature. They can actually say what kind of syntax they expect and they produce. And we've already started at least to refactor our own functions using that. And a big one also is that with this type information, we can actually, and we have created automatic coercions between these different kinds where it makes sense. So actually, if you had a macro that didn't work before, it might not even be a type error now. It might just do the right thing now because of these invisible coercions. And that also means that these explicit annotations like this colon island stuff after an anti-quotation might not even be all that necessary anymore, where we can do the automatic coercions or where the types are already correct. And of course, if you leave out the annotation and it's not correct, then Lean will actually tell you now. So even I feel much more comfortable leaving out these explicit annotations now. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say about type macros here. If you interested in the details, I suggest to just go to the pull request in the release notes and take a look at the description there. And lastly, I wanted to talk about one more syntax-related feature that is user-facing, and which is the linters. So you may already know, if you know Mathlib in Lean 3, they have their own linter framework, but that one actually does not work on top of the syntax tree. like I said, it's no idea of syntax, and that does mean that we can't do some things in this Lean3 linter framework that we can do now. And yes, the very first linter we had in Lean4 was implemented by my student assistant, Lars Koenig. It's the unused variables linter. I think it was actually part of the previous release already, but since that, we've really made sure that it is much more robust. And I think it is very useful. Like, it has found multiple bugs in various projects, and it's a bit of a game changer for programming in Lean, I think. But yeah, then also other people came in, like Leo has already mentioned that Mario implemented a missing docs linter. And yeah, I also implemented well, let's say a very specific linter. Like, you don't have to worry about that one at all until it tells you that you did something wrong in an expander and tells you exactly how to fix it. But yeah, that's also a nice example for something that's much easier to like prevent in a linter than figure out some API that avoids the error, but is very convoluted. And yeah, of course, would be even better if we could automatically fix those mistakes with like code action, which, for example, which the language server protocol supports. And yeah, we really want to have other syntax transformations like refactorings, or yeah, as we just heard, widgets adjusting syntax as well. And yeah, I think we're definitely on a way to this in the future. Lars and I are currently looking into probably the first big step towards that, which is improving the code formatter in Lean so that you actually want your Lean code to be formatted by it, which is not at all the case right now. After that, I think we can really start going with all these features. But yeah, I think all in all, this topic as well could see much volunteer work if you're interested in that. Okay, I think that's it for me, unless there are questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sebastian. Yeah,
Okay.
I think we're done. This was we had to present. I mean, but we are happy to answer questions. The purpose of these update meetings is to get feedback from the community, discuss concerns the community may have, and explain our next steps. What any question is a valid question here, and feel free to ask them. It's fine to, if you don't want to ask, you can also type the question. It's fine too.
So I have a question regarding sort of shared infrastructure. So I think like docgen4 also has an HTML templating thing within it. And it looks like the widget code also has some way to like, some syntax extensions for HTML. Is this code shared, or are they like two separate pieces of?
I can answer that. Actually, the HTML generator in docgen is stolen from the PR back from before it was integrated, and there was still a long way to go. So in theory, I can just use what is in the upstream Lean now. It should work.
Okay, it's a great question from Patrick, asking if we can have a guide for writing doc strings yet. I think this is a great idea. Yes, we will do it. The syntax. Okay, yes. He's asking another question. Is we're discussing when you have a piece of syntax in Lean, like you can add doc strings to the syntax, but you can also add doc strings to the elaborator, the code that converts the syntax into a Lean kernel term. You can put documentation, doc strings in both of them. Right now, when you had in both places, we were showing in the one in the elaborator, it's like was a bias towards code developers. I mean, that's the information you want if you're a developer. But for the community, I think the consensus, Sebastian, I think we're all convinced as now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that for the users, the best place is to show the docstring on the syntax. Do you agree? Also, I think you agree with that.
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
right?
that's probably, we should probably just go with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we settled that. I mean, I think everybody on board that we are going to show the docstrings on the syntax declaration for the users when they hover over syntactic elements in Lean. So it was settled. We didn't change it, but we will soon. The expected level of detail. Yes, I think more detail is always great. I think, for example, a good model is what Mario did on the prelude file. If you take a look there, it is great. I mean, you can learn Lean just hovering over his stuff, right? Mario added a bunch of doc strings explaining in great detail. I mean, Mario, do you want to say something about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that the doc strings, I mean, like I would go anywhere between like a paragraph and maybe up to half a page, depending on like for really important stuff or really foundational stuff. I think it helps to have a longer doc string. I think that the more likely scenario is that most things are just going to be documented with approximately a sentence or so. But like I think one, Rust is another good model here. You can take a look at how their, the documentation of the standard library goes. You've usually got like some blur. You start with like a sentence, which is, a short description of what's going on, and then maybe a paragraph that explains it in more detail, an example, and then maybe like extra gotchas or unusual things about this definition. I mean, I think that it's like Leo said. I think it's useful for people to just be able to hover over stuff and like learn Lean, right? I think that is something that we should try to aspire to. Yeah. So to any, I think that then more documentation is better for the near to midterm. I would say that it's pretty difficult to write too much documentation at this point.
Cool. And Mario, Chris is asking about documenting function parameters. You have any thoughts about what kind of style should we use there?
So there's still some things to be fixed on the hover support. Right now, function parameter names are not shown at all, which can be confusing if you read the doc string and it refers to, expected type ? And then you look at the type of the thing and it takes two expers and you don't know which one's which. So if we can solve that, then I think we could just have a documentation, a bullet list or something like that, which says, this is what the parameters do. I mean, there are lots of style guides. Doxygen has a sort of style for writing functions, and I don't think that we need to do things too differently from that kind of thing. General programming language documentation, I would say.
Yeah, Patrick just made a comment saying that style questions look unimportant, but it's nice to have a uniform style. I couldn't agree more. Yes.
And regarding should we refer to the variable names? Variable names are actually user facing in Lean 4 because you can refer to a variable by name using the syntax. Like when you call a function, you write name : equals something, and that will apply even if it's an implicit argument. So this is how sort of optional arguments work. So I think it is important to have those visible in the hover, but that's future.
Anything else?
On a slightly separate note, I found the thing after iSarm. And you mentioned like having a weekly meeting for learning, the Lean API and stuff like this. Is this something that you already have scheduled? That we
Oh yeah, this is the mentor ring program we talk about today. We have a form. Anybody can fill the form if you are interested. Please fill the form. If you have more questions about the program, ping Sarah on Zulip. But Sarah creates a sign up form. Please fill it. We will try to make it formal. Weekly meetings, explain things. And the idea is anybody that's interested, they can contribute on. We expect them to contribute on day one, right? We meet, explain things, and they can start contributing by writing doc strings, improving the documentation. Then we expect, as we explain things, one recurrent thing people have say, "Oh, this error message sucks. I mean, it's not great." I mean, being able to improve that would benefit everybody, right? And sometimes it's like a work of love, right? I mean, it takes time polishing. People say, "Oh, it still sucks." Then you go there, make it better. I think anybody that contributed to Rust knows how much work has to be put to make these error messages amazing, right? That's the idea. And eventually, once everybody wants to become excited about Lean, to be a maintainer, they can co-sign PRs, the pull requests, right? Because this is a bottleneck for us. You probably have seen on Zulip, we have to keep saying we don't have human power to review the PRs, right? And we want to change that. Let's see, there's another question from Tom, beginner compiler question. Is it feasible to have semantic support for docstring comments? Are they removed during lexing or they are part of the... Oh, you
Right,
want
so-
docstrings inside of the codes to be hoverable? Yeah, that would be a cool. Right now, we don't have support for that, but it would be great to store this information somewhere.
Yeah, it's I think it's an interesting feature request. It's not quite trivial, I'd say, since not everything that is, say, inside backticks may be valid code, may even be meant to be valid code. So I'm not sure if we like have to come up with some documentation specific language to use there. Some okay. Follow-up question was about like, or doing something like doc tests in Python and Rust. And
yeah, I would love to have that.
For that, we really only need a markdown a markdown parser, and then we can parse comments with that and actually execute them. Yeah, I think doc strings as they are implemented in Rust, for example, those are great. We should definitely have that. Yeah.
Yeah, another dream I have is like when we show the doc string, people can hover the doc string and get the type information inside of the code snippets inside of the doc string, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be also cool. You can do a jump to definition in the example inside of the doc string. Yeah, great. Any more? Anybody else? Yeah, that actually would be a great first project, right? If someone wants to learn to do to process the doc strings with Markdown, right? Do these doc tests, right? Elaborate everything, executes, check if that errors there. It's useful, right? I mean, sometimes the doc strings are old, right? They are not up to date with the code changes, and a tool like that we would be able to run it in our CI and catch these mistakes.
This could also allow code blocks within the doc string to be syntax highlighted.
Yeah, this is another cool feature. Package. Okay, yes, this is a good question for question about the package repository. Yes, we are talking about that. We want to have a repository. We had a meeting with Mac, Chris, many others, Mariana. about having a package repository for Lean. Yes, we realize this is important. We hope it will happen this year, right? It's at least the beginning of a package repository. And one thing that we're even talking with Mac is as soon as we have this registry, people can refer to packages by name. They don't have to, I mean, the conversion from name to GitHub repository is done by this repository, this registry. This Tom is asking, does it make sense to comment the types in the doc string then? Yeah, I think it makes sense to comment everything, but not sure if I understood the question. Okay, yeah. Henrik is also mentioning that right now doc chains, assuming everything, right, that has backticks, is a Lean thing. Yes. Oh, and Henrik, I forgot to ask you about, I mean, the connection between Lean Inc. and DocChain. Do you have anything to say about that?
I have something going on a side branch that was waiting on Mac to finish the facet feature because due to some technical reasons, we can't just run Lean Inc. the same way as DocChain on the main branch is working right now. But if the lake facet can run DocChain on each file individually and then collect the information together, we have something that can do some basic backlinking already. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks. Okay, we're getting to the end of the meeting. If there are no further questions, I think we can finish.
Patrick had one about the current state of tactic porting.
Oh, yes. It's a bit chaotic right now, right? So we are getting, it would be great to focus. We're trying to focus, to have like task force doing it. But as I mentioned, anybody interested in porting tactics, this is a great task for the mentoring. We would be, I'm for sure will be happy to meet every week to explain the Lean 4 APIs to anybody that wants to port mathlib tactics. Yeah, but right now, many tactics have been ported during the hackathon, but there are many more. The hard ones are still there, and we need a lot of help there. Mario, do you want anything? Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, the state is basically that the most of the ones that were marked easy were taken care of during the hackathon, and there's still lots of medium that are still quite accessible and would be good to spend some time on with people. But I mean, I mean, obviously we can't all do the easy ones, right? So we're gonna have to move on to the bigger tasks as well. Yeah, there's still some more time before we can get into the really tough ones, but I think that yeah, what's most relevant is getting as many people involved as possible. Helping with review is also another thing that you can do. If you know some Lean, you know how to read Lean 4, it would be helpful to get on Mathlib 4 and do some PR reviews. So there's some open PRs there as well. So yeah, it's yeah. So anything anyone can do to help with those things, please join in the mentor ring and help out.
Great. Well, we're reaching the end. Thanks, everybody. We want to keep doing that monthly, these events. Last month we didn't do it because of the ISAM, the hackathon. Most of us were traveling or busy inside of the hackathon, attending the hackathon. But the goal is to keep doing this meeting every month. and tell you new things, directions we are going. And hopefully we will have more maintainers the next meeting. That's you help us to get the project to the next level. Yeah, it's great. Thank you, Patrick, for the nice message, and see you all in 1 month.
Thank you, Leo.
Yeah, thanks,
Thanks to
Jeremy.
everyone.
Yeah.